Okay.
No age camp reporting, so you know.
Thank you.
I'll let you take the pictures tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hersey. Good evening, everyone. So, meeting of the Sewer Commission, called to order Tuesday, June 17, 2014. Central Meeting Room South, second floor, Town Hall, 7:01 p.m. We are broadcasting live on HCAM. All three commissioners in attendance, Demko, Gondavir, and Salerno. Staff in attendance and members of the engineering firm in attendance, as well as many community members. So thank you for showing up tonight.
Don't forget Mahoney.
Yep, and F.R. Mahoney, too, with our consultants or engineering firm. So we're here tonight to discuss, it's an informational meeting with the residents in regards to Ship and Cottage Street for the ongoing project. That will be our primary focus on the agenda. And later on in the meeting, we will be taking a vote on the consolidation agreement with the Board of Selectmen. So since we did say we're starting it at 7, starting with the informational meeting, we did want to open this up to the residents and really allow this to be the residents' meeting. We do have to just be mindful that we are all part of the same community, and if we can not speak over people and not yell and just conduct ourselves in a courteous manner, I would greatly appreciate that. If you are going to speak, please step up to the microphone, state your name and where you reside, and we will hear you out. So that being said, I think what we'd like to do, I guess right away, is we have some folks here from F.R. Mahoney, which is supplying the grinder pump, so they can answer some questions. But I think the best way to get this started is really to open this up to the residents of Ship and Cottage Street for any questions that they may have. So I turn the floor over to any residents, or I can start with, providing some information. Yes?
I'm Jane Hennessy, 48 Cottage Street. So the one thing that I would like to learn this evening is there's been confusion on whether we're going to be forced to hook up or we can opt out.
Okay.
So we were at a meeting together a month ago, I don't know, was it a selectmen's meeting?
Yes.
Where it came up that the Board of Health was making us hook up unless we filed the paperwork with the Board of Health.
Yes.
But then in speaking to the Board of Health after that meeting, to ask about the paperwork, they said they weren't aware of any paperwork. They weren't aware that there were neighbors that didn't want to hook up. And they were talking to town council and wouldn't give any answers until they spoke to town council and sewer. And they're holding a meeting Thursday night.
Yes.
So it's important to me since the beginning of this, because I've recently installed a new septic system and was told throughout the process that you could opt out. I'd like it to be clarified.
Yeah.
On the opt-out.
So we're not going to be taking a vote tonight, but we did get a memo, as well as the Board of Health did get the same exact memo from Town Council. So they've made a determination on it. And essentially, we do need to follow the letter of the law on this. So the proposed language that we would take on a vote on this would be pursuant to Section 15 of Chapter 82 of the Acts of 1946, the Sewer Commission hereby fixes the time by which the owners of buildings abutting those properties of Ship and Cottage Streets in which sanitary sewer shall be installed as shown on that certain plan entitled the Town of Hingham, Massachusetts Ship and Cottage Street Sewer Extension Location Plan dated May 2014, prepared by Weston and Sampson, must connect to such sewer to be at such time as A, connection to sanitary sewer is required pursuant to the provisions of Title V of the State Environmental Code at 310 CMR 15.004, parenthetic 3, or B, connection is expressly ordered by the Town of Hingham Board of Health pursuant to its authority under applicable Massachusetts general law. So I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to legally break this down, but what it really means is, and what we're proposing, and have this checked through council, is that when your system essentially failed, that would be the time that in which you would be required to hook into the system. So yes, you will have to go through the Board of Health on that, and again, that's why we're working with them in advance on this, so that you have a definitive answer on this, as long as they are okay with this. I mean, it is language of the law, but we want to work together with them and make sure we're all on the same page. So if anyone in here is going there to question them, we both have the same exact answer for you. Does that help you?
So in order to opt out, will you have to have a Title V test this summer?
I think, Randy, do you know, I know you participated in some meetings on that.
They said, they haven't had their meeting yet, but they were leaning to that they would not have to have it done,
Okay.
a Title V.
Okay.
But that's going to be discussed at the meeting, from what I understand.
Yeah, so...
On Thursday.
On Thursday.
On Thursday,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And as it stands now, like, how would we notify you that we don't want to hook up?
I think this, just by just telling us you don't want to hook up right now, we can notate that, and once we find out on Thursday how they're going to handle that, if there's a form we need you to fill out, we'll send that right to you.
There is a form.
Oh, there's a form already.
This is the form to opt in for the purchase of the grinder pumps that went out with the grinder pump policy. So
Okay.
basically what the commission has issued is, under their policy, those homes that need a grinder pump and intend to tie in within the first year, the commission will purchase it under the contract for installation by the homeowners. So the commission is looking to collect the forms to get a final count on how many people do intend to tie in up front, or within a year, basically, to have the commission buy it under the current sewer contract, if that makes sense. So however many of these you get back will be how many you order through the general contractor. There's a price in the contract for them to purchase them, and we need to finalize how many are going to be purchased under the contract. So if you don't send this form back, you won't be counted as someone who's going to tie in right now.
And then, now, I signed one
We
of
can
those at
fix
that
it
last meeting because that was the deadline date. And then that particular meeting was whatever the date was on that letter. And then it was indicated you're probably going to have to sign up. So I signed that letter because I could get it for $1. So can that be rescinded?
Yeah?
Absolutely. Yes, sir, do you mind just stepping up to the microphone?
Jack Hennessy, 48 Cottage Street. If you sign up for the pump and we don't hook up, can we get the pump without hooking up for future use?
The commission the policy is they're not going to buy them unless you're going to hook in within the first year, because the warranties and all of that are going to expire before you install it if you take it.
Could you explain it? Okay.
So it has a 3-year warranty with it when you purchase it, correct, Henry? Correct. What the submittal has. But what the commission's going to do is they're going to purchase them through the general contractor. So the general contractor has a line item in his contract for the purchase of grinder pumps. He doesn't install them, he just purchases them. And he has submitted E1 grinder pumps, which is FR Mahoney. So then he's going to go to FR Mahoney and say, okay, we need 10 pumps. And he's going to buy 10 pumps from FR Mahoney. And then the way we're working it out with the commission is instead of those 10 pumps being delivered for the DPW to store at their yard or whatever, is FR Mahoney's going to hold them at their yard until people are ready to install in Rockland. So whichever ones are bought, we're going to want to clear from the books within a year and within specifically the timeframes of the warranty.
If somebody is insured and you have a 3-year warranty, is the option there to sign up for it and you have a 3-year time period? I mean, what happens year 2 when something fails and so we're beyond the 8 ball? Are we going to go out and buy our own? It's more expensive. So if you have a 3-year warranty and we have and we may want to hook up year 2, or what happens if something fails year 3? We don't have that option anymore. So I don't know.
That's correct, that's the way the policy is.
I agree with that, but.
Well, if they buy it now and then you don't use it, they've bought it, that money's gone. You know, they paid for a pump, and the pump's not used, nobody comes to pick it up. They're $4,300. $4,300 is the unit price on the contract.
And that's what we would pay for it if we don't sign up today, but down the road?
Yes, in theory.
Is there-
Well, that's the price that the contractor got, you know, and so when he's buying
But you're
10.
buying, so we as a
Might have gone up.
citizen, we're not going to be able to have that option. So you're giving us.
I can't guarantee that that will be the price in 5 years. I don't know what the price will be down the road. That's all I'm saying, yeah.
But the reality is, if we're not sure, or if we're not going to hook up year 1, we're penalized on this pump because we can't get the pump at the cost it is right now. I don't know. I disagree with that.
Yeah, so I just took that down as a note, and I think that's something, I mean, right now it stands as Steve just said. I'm going to kind of talk that through with some people and see maybe how other communities have handled something like that, and see if there is something different we can do. I mean, I will say, though, Jack, at this point, that is the policy that we've taken and the stance that we've taken on it. But I will take this one offline, and do we have the Hennessy's phone number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mahoney says
So-
Situate does the same.
Maybe to help clarify, I hope, I'm with FR Mahoney and Associates, and what typically we see communities do in this type of situation is the intent is to try to encourage initial connections, and by buying in bulk or negotiating in bulk, they're negotiating a better price for the residents. So if it strings out to onesie, twosie, then folks are subject to, higher pricing. So the idea here is to try to, this was to try to negotiate a better price for you folks up front and get them under the contract. Now, the contractor is bound in this project, I believe, for a 1-year warranty, which is typical for their work, and they're going to want to get out of the contract and close out the contract. So that's another reason why the contractor would need to finalize these financial details within that year period. So I think that, if I'm paraphrasing correctly, Steve, is one of the reasons why they're trying to solve it in the first year.
Thank you. May I ask another question in regards to this?
Yes, sure, please.
What is the history of the liability of this particular pump? How many have you put in? And if you had to look at an average installation of this pump, gravity pump, what's the life? I mean, how long does it last? A year? What is your?
No, the standard warranty is a 2-year warranty that we sell off the shelf. The town negotiated a 3-year warranty to allow for some of this time lag to get product in. We also agreed to store products so that you get current serial numbers, so that 3 years becomes part of from the time of purchase. So we're trying to extend it out. The product itself, we have a mean time between service calls history of better than 8 to 10 years that this product would operate before it needs any service. We have pumps that are in place now that have been in the ground for 20 to 30 years. We have 3 generations of product that came out since 1969, 1970. We still have some of the first generation pumps that we go out, we service, some for the first time. So depending on the homeowner's use, these can be a very long period before you have to do anything with it. The pumps, I can brag a little bit, we're the leader in the industry. We invented the technology back in the late 60s, and when most people talk about pressure sewer systems, they usually use the E1 sewer system. So it's a very reliable, very well-known product.
One more question, please.
Yes, sir.
Who owns the pump? Does the citizen own the pump, or does the town own the pump? And then the next question under that, who's responsible when it breaks to fix it?
So it is the residents' responsibility. So once they assume ownership of it, when it's put into the ground, that is your responsibility. What we're going to have is a list of vendors that would service that, and you will have a 3-year.
So we're in the sewer business.
Pardon
I
me?
mean, so you're putting that responsibility on the citizens. Now we have to maintain that in addition to the other costs associated with this.
Well, so that's going to be on your property. So that's.
Nevertheless, it's our responsibility financially.
Yep, and so every project we've done in the community, they're now, the residents do own their, I think at this point,
Yes.
now we've turned every single one of them over to the residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else have a question? Yes, Mr. Patch.
Compact Ship Street, okay. You guys can do what you want to do. I'm going to just go to court and get a declaratory judgment because what you're purporting to do is too cute by half, and it flies in the face of what prior sewer commission action has been. And clearly not you guys, because you, Mike, quoted at the May 22nd Selectmen's meeting as, quote, we missed this piece of the special legislation that was part of the package legislation of 1946 adopted in 1955 by a series of town meeting votes altogether. So the question I have is, on your own website, you have this big PDF of how, as a result of my pointing out matters every year, and not being listened to. But anyways, the point being is last year, supposedly Susan Murphy was tasked to look into all this special legislation. It was supposed to be all done by June. You guys were supposed to have a big meeting, and I think there was a presentation last September. So the question I have is, did Susan Murphy find this? If not, my opinion, she should be fired, okay? If she found it and didn't disclose it to the commission, she should be fired, okay? If she found it and disclosed it to the commission, the question is, when did she disclose it to the commission? Because the engineer from Weston and Sampson sent out a letter on March 27th specifically stating, of this year, stating you don't have to hook up, okay? So it seems to me that if this information was given to the sewer commission, how could it possibly have not been disclosed to the residents in almost a year? And even having the engineer for the sewer commission sending out a letter expressly stating that the residents don't have to hook up, okay? So, and the next question I have is, who's paying Susan Murphy for all of this? Because one of the things that also bothers me, Michael, is that you said in front of the selectmen how you're going to hold the hand of people in order to not have to hook in. Well, you guys represent the ratepayer, okay? The only way these people on Cottage Ship Street become ratepayers if they hook in. So basically what you're saying is you're going to use ratepayer money to help people not become ratepayers. That's what you're doing, okay? It really is not your issue to advocate on behalf of anybody here on this issue. And just for the record, the Sewer Commission in the past, okay, the vote, and it's my position, under the special legislation, once a vote has occurred, it's locked in granite because you're talking about a whole district. Everybody has to be treated fairly, okay? You can't just say, oh, these people's this and these people's that and so forth and so on. It's 90 days. You had 90 days to hook in, okay? Unless you went to petition, it's a condition subsequent. The obligation is you have to hook in. That's the default obligation. There is a condition subsequent which allows you to get out from under that obligation if the Board of Health makes a determination that it's required to under the standard, under the statute. I should say, this is obviously Susan Murphy's handiwork. It's ridiculous because basically what you're doing is you're essentially saying, well, at the point in time that the Board of Health would arguably find that there's a reason for you to not have to hook in, that's the time you're going to have to hook in. Crazy. You guys want to go there and do this and waste everybody's money? Fine, but I would like some answers to those questions.
We can certainly get back to you on some of them. opinions about Susan Murphy. I think that you made your point. I do reference, Tom, or Mr. Patch, November 22nd, 2011 survey that went out to all the property owners that kind of was a question and answer. And one of the questions is, if the project goes by my property, can I elect not to participate? No, all properties in the final project will receive a betterment. There might be valid reasons why a property in the project area may be excluded, but this must be determined by the Sewer Commission after receiving a written request for consideration from the property owner. So,
That's for the betterment. That's not hooking in.
okay. The two questions down from that, will I have to connect? The Sewer Commission will not require a connection. However, at some point, either sanitary conditions or a house sale will most likely trigger a connection requirement.
But what you're not telling them, Michael, is that there's an existing statute where there's a default obligation that you have to hook in, and the standard under the special legislation is not a house sale, okay? It's whether or not non-connection reasonably endangers the public health, which is a lower standard, okay? So this is the problem. People were not told, and my neighbors even told me that a lot of them sat on the sidelines. So remember, this passed at town meeting by 3 votes. People sat on the sideline because they were being assured they wouldn't have to hook in, and that's not true. The default under the statute, and the council can spin it any way she wants, the default under the statute is you have to hook in. And I was saying that all along, and people shouted me down, okay? So, you know, this is where it's going. You guys want to go there, fine. You know, we'll all end up in court and talk to a judge and see what he has to say about it.
It is completely true that people sat on the sidelines because we were assured that we would not have to hook up. And people wanted to live peacefully with their neighbors and all of that. And so that's the absolute truth.
Did we have more questions from folks in the audience, or did people need some clarification on? Hello. Did you want to speak?
I don't know what I missed, I'm so sorry. Did you guys already discuss these grinder pumps, or?
We haven't really gotten much into the grind. I mean, we kind of described them a little bit and shelf life. Was there a particular? Do you mind stepping up to the microphone if you did have a question and just?
Oh, I'm loud.
We're going to have a discussion.
Well, we just need. We're on HCAM, so we just need your name and address for the
I'm good for now.
Okay. All right, but please feel free. That's what we want to open to the public.
Presentation.
Yes, Jack.
Yeah. Michael, Jack Hennessy, 48 Cottage Street. I'm just interested in your reply to what was said about, we were told that we didn't have to look into this.
So
I'm just interested in response to what will happen with this and where it goes.
So that I can definitively answer in our July meeting when we do take a vote on that, because we're going to take a vote on this, and we will take any feedback that the Board of Health does give us on this. My assumption is that it's going to come out to the exact language that I just read to you. But again, I don't know exactly how that will come out. That is Thursday night, and then we are taking a vote, our subsequent meeting that all three are together, which is July 8th.
Michael, excuse me, you're taking a vote on what? That you're going to?
On that language that I wrote out. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Anyone else have any questions? Is there more to the pumps that you wanted to present, or that people usually have for questions in regards to them?
Well, I have some literature or information that I can hand out that they can take that have a lot of the commonly asked questions and answers. It has images of the cut sheet from what is being delivered under the scope.
Give us an overview?
Certainly I could do that. There's a I guess to tell you what's going on, I don't know whether you want people leafing through them, we can pass them around. I
But would
have them
the
here.
audience like some of these to look at while he's talking about?
Okay.
And I'm sorry, can you identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Henry Albro. I'm with F.R. Mahoney and Associates. We're the Environment One pump representatives in New England. So what I can do is there will be copies of these. If you'd like one, take and pass around, good. I think that's probably plenty, and I'll keep extras for the commission. So that you have additional information. The literature that is included is a general overview of Environment One products. This main brochure, which talks about the references, the history, what is a pressure sewer, and to give you a little bit of a background on pressure sewers. Pressure sewers was an alternative method of sewering that was developed close to 50 years ago now. And it is a way of collecting and conveying wastewater to avoid deep gravity sewers, expensive gravity sewer systems that can't service everybody by topography, by ledge, by other restrictions. So the system itself consists of a individual grinder pump, and there's a packet. In this packet, you'll see a kind of a, I don't know, I guess our Mr. Pop-Up image here shows what it looks like when it's buried in the ground. What you would see is this top green lid, and everything else is buried well in the ground. And Steve has some images of an installation that he's going to put up over here. The unit sets down in the ground so that the waste from your house drains by gravity into a basin, a wet well, which is below the midpoint of the pump. And the upper part is an upper access way for access to shut-off valves to remove the pump should it need service. The unit is set up, it is a standard unit. So all of your grinder pumps would be the same. So that if there was a problem with one, we can come in, we can drop in a loaner. It's an exact core, exact replacement for the unit. If we can't fix it on site, a loaner can go in, so it's immediately capable of being back in service to minimize downtime. And we standardize these for that service benefit. The unit grinds normal wastewater, sewage from your home, and the real cautions are, if you're on septic systems now, you probably know what you're not supposed to put down the drain. And those habits shouldn't change. They're very reliable, very robust. They grind up particles to about a 1/4 inch particle size, and then they pass it through a very small pipeline. Most people, when they think of gravity sewers, they think of the big pipe technology. And big pipe needs to be big to pass those solids. Well, we just grind everything up so that now we can be much more efficient and pass through smaller pipelines. So that's really what you're getting, what's involved. There's an alarm panel that would be mounted typically outside the home, somewhere within line of sight of the pump. And I think we can show that. For you in the back of the room, this is going to be a little bit of an eye chart, but there's a panel that would go on the side of the house. The pump is buried in the ground. Typically a 4-inch plumbing drain comes into it, and an 1.25-inch discharge comes out. And the system internally has built-in check valves, and then at the lot line, there is a curb stop valve and a redundant check valve. So what happens with this system is basically, I'll use the medical analogy. You go and you get a shot, there's a hypodermic needle that injects into the flow stream. And that's what these pumps do. They inject into the flow stream, displaces the liquid, and it moves it to the point of discharge. So they're very simple, very reliable. And I think internally what you'll see in here, most of the questions, we've heard them. Not to say that we always look for a new question, but the questions that are on this sheet that's in your packet These are the typical questions that we seem to always get at public meetings. And we've tried to provide those answers so that if you leave here and you think of something, it's probably on this sheet. If it isn't, we can get you the answer. I've always had one unique question at a public meeting, but typically this covers most of what, residents' concerns, what's it cost, what's it look like, and so forth. This is truly meant to be an appliance in your home, just like your furnace, your water heater. It's your sewage collection and conveyance appliance. It really is. And so, yes, you are in the sewage business, owning a grinder pump. When you own a lateral on your property line, a gravity line, you're essentially in the sewer business as well. This is just another way of getting it there. Yes?
Compact Ship Street again, I feel very badly for the people that are going to be put on pressurized lines, because I think when people think they're going to be put on sewer, I think there's a certain level of expectation that they're moving away from the limitations of what that offers in the septic system. For example, not being able to have a kitchen garbage disposal. But the thing is, my research, paperwork, is that this project, at one point early on, there was I recall the engineer had done a proposal of what it would cost to do deep gravity for all the people on Cottage Street. And so it wasn't that it wasn't an option, it was just more expensive. And throughout the whole process, I do not recall ever that the Sewer Commission said to those people that they were proposing to put on to these pressurized lines whether or not they would prefer to be on a gravity system. And when it comes to the issue of an expense, I find that the failure of the commission to do that is inexplicable, because for Ship Street, just on a gravity line, I think the estimate came into about $15,000 per household, supposedly, which again would be if it was everybody divided by the number of lots, which we all know is illegal, but that's what you guys were planning on doing anyways, and you did on Central Street, Dexter Street, and Maple Ave, and Lafayette Ave. But the bottom line is, you had no problem taking the Ship Street project and combining with Cottage Street, so that now the people on Ship Street are paying a lot more, because the cost, even with a pressurized line on Cottage Street, was substantially more than what it would cost with gravity on Ship Street. So maybe you can explain to these people why you didn't put that proposal on the table so that they know that that option was there, so that they're not stuck with this gravity system, which is going to require them to have a backup generator, which is going to have limitations, that you wouldn't otherwise have if you were on gravity system. And if Mr. Barkley is to be believed, it also diminishes the value of your property. I mean, that's what he had told me. There's no way that he wanted to be on a pressurized line, because as far as he's concerned, it diminishes the value of the property. So maybe you can explain that.
I guess the first thing I'll address is we did have hearings on that, Tom. So we did, when this project was going on, discuss that, and there was.
Can you just be specific? But I don't know what you're.
That we had discussion on this. I can.
What was this? He brought up so many things.
On the residents on grinder pumps being told that they're going to be on grinder pumps, and there being options on that. That was put out there. Could the communication have been a little bit better? Yeah, and I think this is a learning experience for us. In terms of the diminishing cost of a home, I've never heard that before. Steve, could you weigh in on that?
I mean, in terms of, the first issue is being on sewer versus not being on sewer. And the research tells you that a home on sewer, it will increase your property value being on the sewer, whether it's a grinder pump or a gravity. connection, having the ability to connect to sewer or be on the sewer will increase the value of the property. Now, the difference between the grinder and the gravity, potentially everything's a little different.
Excuse me? Potentially what?
Between the grinder and gravity is.
He said potential because it is two different things, but he's not sure of, I don't, do you know of any research, Steve?
No, not
that we could
specific
provide?
research in
Okay.
terms of what it would do negatively.
How do you arrive at?
Well, I was wondering, Alexis Scott, 38 Cottage Street. So you let off saying we're in the sewer business once we're connecting with a grinder pump. Can you tell me what are the advantages to a grinder pump versus, do you feel that it is superior to existing functioning septic systems or cesspools?
In certain applications, yes.
Can you speak to
Well,
our specific
as far as a septic system certainly has a finite life. I'm on a septic system.
So does a grinder pump.
Yeah, well, it's a mechanical device. A toilet has to be replaced, a faucet. Everything that we have, everything in our convenience wears out at some point.
Can you answer, though, whether you think a grinder pump is a better system than a new septic system?
I think it's better.
You think it's better? What is better about a grinder pump? Can you be specific?
The wastewater leaves the property. It doesn't leave the uncertainty for future homeowners about the cost of replacing the septic system. The future cost to replace a grinder pump core certainly pales by comparison to the cost of a new septic system. A new septic system, I know personally I'm facing something that's a mortgage breaker at home. So depending on the lot size, depending on the soils, it can be a very painful experience for homeowners.
So we're talking about cost differential if one fails.
Correct.
But in terms of the actual function of a grinder pump versus the function of a septic system, I guess this is what I'm trying to understand. Do you feel that the grinder pump is still better to connect to a pressurized line?
Yes,
Why?
because it collects and conveys the wastewater away from your property. It gets it away from your
So
property.
that's why you think it's better? Okay.
Yes.
How far above grade does this sit? I don't have my glasses, but you
It-
saw a picture, so.
It sits up about 3 to 4 inches maximum, is all it needs to.
And is there a reason, because I know people who use a grinder pump, but theirs is submerged. I'm curious if there's a reason why this can't be buried?
There are locations where if you're subject to floodplain, that the cover is buried and there's a vent that runs off someplace else out of sight.
Yes.
The cover is vented so that your plumbing can drain. Your house has a vent stack in it should be by code, but some homes don't have proper venting or they don't have proper water traps. So it's a redundant trap so that you do not draw any of your sink traps dry. There's actually a vent in the top cover to allow when the liquid goes up and down in that pump basin, it's oscillating and it can breathe freely and not draw in on your vents or your plumbing in your home. So it's required to vent to breathe the atmosphere, plus we also use a diaphragm pressure switch that has to equalize to atmosphere. So if we bury it, then it has to be a sealed cover, and then it would have to have a vent elsewhere. So those are really the options.
And were those options that were explored and discussed with everyone who seemed to know they were getting a grinder pump?
I don't know.
No.
I mean, I guess I'm just confused because I think there are 11 households today. I think we were, I don't know, closer to 22 households, a couple of weeks ago. And Mike is telling me that this was addressed with all of us during the project. This doesn't pertain to you specifically, but I never got a knock on the door. And I'm just curious what was explored. I don't even know what the request for proposal was for this.
So we have public hearings. There's, to the extent of the law, we followed it in notifying people. We did have a commissioner.
How were people notified? I mean, I'm telling you that I never was notified.
So a commissioner did go door to door initially to talk to people about this.
I owned 2 houses at the time this project was going on, one on the corner of Ship and Cottage Street and one on Cottage. no one knocked on either of those doors and came to me and
Okay.
talked about this.
Okay.
I think I kind of represent a good ratio here.
No, I never saw any.
We never,
Okay. That commissioner's now deceased, so I can't speak for him. But, I mean, I'm sorry that
Well,
he's
I would just
deceased.
wonder
There's nothing I can really do about that.
You guys have documentation that people went out to the field and discussed grinder pumps with these.
But he did that above and beyond what the letter of the law says he needs to do. I understand the frustration with could communication have been a little bit better, and do we learn from that? Yeah, it could. There's no doubt about that, and I've conceded to that in other meetings. But we did notify the residents. We do post our meetings every single month, and we do post our agenda that we have in those meetings. That's.
Can I just ask, did anyone here get notified that they were going to be required to connect to a grinder pump? No. I didn't. I own 2 homes. So I just would like that to be part of the record.
Yeah, I'm actually going to find out what we did send out.
5 people who were 5 households, since I represent 2 at the time.
I know if we look back at the minutes of that meeting, it will definitively say, because we do post the minutes of our meeting, it should definitively say exactly what properties were in that, and the supporting documentation for those meetings will certainly have that.
Okay, great to know that existed. So I guess my only other question then is, was there an RFP for this? This is a large grinder pump bid.
You mean for the purchase of the grinder pumps?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was part of the contract that went out to bid. So the contractors had to put in prices for the grinder pump. There was a specification on what unit, what it needed to meet the town standards. And so the general contractors all bid on it.
The general contractor?
So the contractor that's out there now putting in the sewer,
He put it privately out to bid?
he solicited prices from different vendors.
Okay, so this isn't someone the town has the town done work with you before on grinder pumps?
Yes, we have.
What percentage of the work do you do for the town when we need grinder pumps?
So, Eric, you actually might know this a little bit better. Do you know how many different roads are on E1s?
How many
In other
different
words,
roads?
does the town use you exclusively for the E1 pumps?
I believe pretty much. We're very competitive. We're next door. We're in Rockland.
Basically,
And,
anybody that has had a problem with the E1 pump, like Bonnie Breyer is a few years, I don't even know what, maybe 10 years old now, or whatever.
Bonnie Breyer's not E1.
They're not, I was gonna say, they're not even E1s, but not, like, so if the Bonnie Breyer part of that sewer district had a problem with their pump, they would now go, they can get upgraded to an E1. They have a retrofit or something that goes into that.
I understand E1 is what was being
So,
recommended regardless, but other people can.
But what happens is if you had a problem with your E1 pump, you would most likely call FR Mahoney, and they would come out and give you a service call and repair your thing. And like he said earlier, if they determine that for whatever reason, somebody said something about garbage disposals. Well, garbage disposals are the worst thing, whether you have a septic or a sewer. They're just the worst thing for that. And if you were to put something down there, your child threw something in your grinder pump, in the garbage disposal, and went through and it affected the pump. If they couldn't repair the pump, they would put a loaner pump in, so that you would immediately be back on. Within a couple of hours, your system would continue to work.
I get all that. I was just sort of trying to understand if there was a request for proposal for this, and I understand that it was an E1 system that was in the contract, but the town is using who they always use, from what I understand.
We've had worked with them before, but there are pumps in the town that they have not supplied for us.
But this is your primary contractor for an E1 system?
I wouldn't say we have a primary contractor for
I
it.
thought that's what was just said. I'm
No.
sorry.
Out the bid.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we have a primary contractor.
Okay.
Yes, Sir Jack.
Jack Hennessy, 48 Cottage Street. I'm requesting that we have some type of cost of this. How much does it cost to, if this thing breaks, what are the rates, what charges are going to come about, installation charges, warranty information, cost of repair, what we can expect in terms of timing if we call your firm, Henry, and what's that time frame? What's the response time frame that's in contract? Do you have a response time by contract with the town of Hingham that you will respond if one of these gravity pumps fails?
We have service technicians on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. What we do when we try to schedule certain service during the normal work week, our normal billing rate, labor rate is $85 per hour for a technician if it's not on warranty. If we get a call at night, what we try to do is we try to diagnose over the phone as to how serious the issue is. Can it wait, or does it have to be serviced right away? So we give the homeowner the options of, whether they can get through the night or not. It keeps the cost of a service call down, again, if it's not in the warranty. The average cost to maintain kind of depends on community by community. I presented a paper in Boston this January at New England Water Environment Conference, and I'm redoing it tomorrow out in Holyoke, comparing Chelmsford, Mass. And Marion, Mass. Operation maintenance. And the average cost of ownership of the grinder pumps over the long period of ownership is running around $50 to $60 a year. As if you were to, I don't know how many folks still depreciate capital assets, but if you were depreciating a capital asset, straight line depreciation, that's typically what you see on an average cost for ownership. Now, a one-time service call could be $400 or $500, depending on what it is, but averaged out over a period of time.
What would something for that cost entail?
That would be, if there was a control item, lightning surge, things like that can affect. If there's wear and tear, the unit actually, it's the old barber poles that we saw that would turn like a screw. That's how this pump operates, and it squeegees against a rubber boot. It's like the tires on your car. So the wear and tear on that boot, a lot of gritty material goes down the drain, can be shortened. But the normal wear and tear on that, we're talking 8 to 10 years, lifetime of that. So it's 8 to 10 years on your tires on your car. So those are the types of things that could be a repair done on site. The extreme worst case scenario, that at some point this core needs to be replaced. At present day, it's less than $1,900. That is the cost of that component if we had to pull it out, completely throw it away and replace. So that, when I compare that to replacing a septic system, I think those are the things that, as an owner, you need to know year 10, 15, or down the road.
Thank you. Well, Michael, in lieu of some confusion that has taken place here, is there any way we can get some kind of outline, cost, installation, warranties, and have this thing nailed down a little bit tighter than this is what it is and this is how it works?
So I can certainly do you have a memo along the lines of your part of things?
We can help put something together.
Okay, yeah, they can put together a memo. In terms of connection to it, or installation, that's going to range. I mean, excavators.
You're the sewer committee, excuse me, I understand, but there has to be some understanding of a general cost of installing this.
So, I mean, Eric, do you know a general industry average cost?
Unfortunately, you don't know what you're going to get when you dig. And you can see with the construction that's going on now, just to install it when you hit ledge. So if you have no ledge, your system goes in a heck of a lot easier, and it's $3,000-4,000 to have it tied and installed and have the old system pumped and decommissioned and filled in, and you're done, and you're loomed and seeded and back to having grass there.
It would be helpful
if you hit ledge, which nobody knows that is there.
Sure.
Depending on how much ledge you hit, and then the costs can.
So Jack, because of those reasons, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. What I can give you, though, is a list of companies in the area that are approved by us. If you certainly want to reach out to them and get an average from them, what they would charge for various things, we could certainly, get that for you. But there's no way we're going to be able to come up with an exact amount on that.
But Henry's firm can at least give us the cost of his
Yeah,
services.
everything for servicing, yeah, we can get you that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At Ship Street. I think if the engineer should have at least a recollection of what the cost would have been to go deep gravity on Cottage Street, because I think these people deserve to know exactly how much more money we were looking at. And, my recollection looking through the emails, Michael, that are in the file between you and Barbara Hamill, is one of the issues that you had expressed was trying to get the people in Cottage Street and doing a pressurized line to keep the total price down to make it politically palatable to people. Obviously, it didn't matter to people on Ship Street because you're now making us essentially subsidize the people on Cottage Street. But the question is, these people are looking at 4,000 electric charges, essentially not as a good type of sewer as gravity sewer. So I think they deserve to know from the engineer how much more money we're talking about, number one. And number two, I don't think as much as I'm against this project, and I think it's illegal, and we're going to settle that someday in court, I don't think we're past the point of no return on going deep gravity. Going from, even though you put some pressurized line in Cottage Street already, basically coming down Cottage Street, which is a natural run, and then heading back down to North Street, going deep gravity, because my understanding is the intersection of Ship and Cottage is lower than Ferring Road, where the gravity system is going. You have a couple of houses going up there on gravity, the other end of Cottage Street. So engineers should be able to give these people an idea how much more money we're talking about, which then gets spread among everybody, or is supposed to be spread among everybody in the project.
I don't know, you probably don't, if you have that on you.
No, off the top
We
of my
can
head, I don't
get
remember
that
the numbers, but I can get it. I mean, I know there was...
We can get that information back to you, Tom.
It was possible? It was looked at, it's possible?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
At any, at a cost and then just the concerns of being down that deep. I mean, the constructability of being in roads like Ship and Cottage Street and being down 25 feet deep in 20 feet of it being ledge is something that borders on being not constructed. So we can certainly look at it and tell you how deep it would be, but if you've got ledge at 5 feet and we need to be 20 plus feet deep with the sewer, it's going to be a massive undertaking and almost unconstructible in those types of things. We did do, so there were numbers based on what the cost would be to pull the ledge out in those areas. So and that was part of the analysis, before going to town meeting, before determining if it was even going to go to town meeting, the questions were what's going to be the cost of the project and the cost per home. And so there were several analyses done on different layouts and what the costs and constructability of different layouts were. And so there is a memo and information that was provided to the commission. And then there was a questionnaire that followed that. A resident survey followed that information based on what was found in that analysis, what was determined in that analysis, if that makes sense.
Do the grinder pumps make noise?
Yeah, but you can't hear it. I mean, so down in the tank, I mean, Henry, you might be able to answer it better in terms of what you're going to hear up at the ground surface,
If it's making a noise, it's time to call us. If you go out and you stand over the cover, you might be able to hear a hum if you stand real close to it.
While it's running. Which is for about a minute.
The grinder pump runs a short cycle. It pumps every 8 gallons. We get sewage off the property quickly. So the normal run time is typically a minute or less. And so if it's running continuously, that's a reason to call us. There's a problem. Either the pump has a problem, or there's a plumbing drain, something that's leaking, that's running in, making it run continuously. But no, we actually have indoor versions and outdoor versions, and we have units that go in the basement of homes that run very quietly. They're quieter than the furnace.
Can these go in the basement of our homes, this particular E1 system?
The model that was specified, no, but we do have an indoor unit that is an option that we provide.
Could people consider that option? Or
I don't know, Steve, you might be able to speak to that.
I don't know what, if the local plumbing code would allow it.
okay.
They're accepted by state code, but you'd have to go through local code. It's an approved product by the state.
And how far away can the alarm be from the actual pump? Is there a distance in which it needs to be from the pump?
Our normal scope of supply is a 32-foot cord. We can supply 50, 75, and 100-foot cords. So
So in a historic neighborhood, there will probably be some concern about hiding those alarms, so I'm just curious, what the flexibility is.
if the pump is in your front yard and the panel can be on the corner, it does not have to be your doorbell. Okay? It's not an unattractive panel. It doesn't look worse than the electric meter that may hang on a house, or a gas meter or anything like that. It's a beige, gray cover. Try to blend it into the environment. It's within line of sight, so if it's on the corner of the house, then the pump has to be out front because of plumbing, or if the pump is in the back because your old plumbing went out the back, it can still face somewhere near the pump, so that if a technician's working on it, they can do the safe lockout, tagout, electrical safety.
I mean, everyone has different tolerances to what they think looks okay. But is there a picture of that in here too, or just the grinder pump?
There's a line drawing of the panel.
Okay,
Yeah, but
with
is there a picture?
dimensions.
What's this picture here?
Well, that picture there is an older panel, the black one, so it's not really
That's the
the
size of the window, but, so I can't.
panel's about this big. It has a red light on the top, it has a buzzer on the bottom and a silence button on the bottom. And that's part of the owner instructions, that if the buzzer is going off, you can silence that, and then the light will go out if the alarm clears, or when a repair is made. So you don't have to listen to the buzzer or your neighbor's buzzer. You could.
Can the alarm go in the basement? If the grinder pump's paired?
We have a remote alarm that is a battery backup alarm that we use with folks during power failure if they would like. That's an option. And we use it on our indoor unit, and that could be inside, but the panel really should be outside, and that's a complete unit with the alarm in it. Should be outside facing the pump someplace.
I have a few more questions on when the project was evaluated with the possible option that we wouldn't need grinder pumps. Then when the different variations of the projects were considered, then who made the final decision that would go this route with these people needing grinder pumps versus everybody?
That was a commission decision.
Okay. And is it safe to assume that when we get a quote to hook up to sewer, if we do that, it's more expensive if you have a grinder pump? Is it safe to assume that your installation, because they're going to have to install the grinder pump versus just a basic hookup?
Not necessarily. I mean, yes, there's the hole for the grinder pump itself is larger, but in general, the connections themselves are shallower because the pipe doesn't have to follow line and grade. So the pressure pipe itself is very small diameter and shallow. Specifically in these areas where if we were trying to put a gravity sewer down deep in ledge, it would affect the cost of the connection that much more, connecting through ledge at a deeper excavation on your own property. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but it's not significantly different, the cost of installing a grinder pump at low pressure, because of the ease of the connection itself. It's a very controlled trench. It's much easier to control the trench than if you're trying to still meet line and grade to get out into the sewer.
Okay, and I wanted to just revisit the talk that possibly if we didn't hook up now, what would trigger it. And I believe it was said possibly the sale of the house would trigger it.
Yeah, what we originally had said was that. Would you like me to read the language of what's being proposed for us to vote on
No, I'd rather
again?
just layman's terms, so, because I have concern over, it's clear that I don't want to opt in because of my out-of-pocket expenses to date, and I don't think that anybody in this room could, if they were in my shoes, would want to go this route. So if I opt out and I don't want to get the grinder pump now, but for some reason in 2 or 3 years or 4 years, I want to sell my house, but my septic is still perfectly good and still passes Title V, then I would have to pay approximately $4,300 for the pump, 2, 3, 4, 5 to hook up. So in
that's,
some ways, financially, I'm being forced to do it now, even though I don't want to. So I don't want the sale of the house to be a trigger. I think that the functioning of the septic, because just as grinder pumps work for 20, 30, 40 years, septic systems work for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm going to look at my outlay from 4 years ago, and I'm looking at $4,300. How much is the average sewer bill for a home? What do you look at bedrooms? I have a 5-bedroom house. What's the average? Is it $500? $3,000?
Water usage. It's based on your water usage.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so, you know, thousands there, thousands to install, thousands a year, and now my tax bill has gone up, okay? And all because some of my neighbors want it stored. So I think that should be taken out. I don't think the sale of the house should be a trigger.
okay, I'm actually gonna ask on that and see what I get for clarification on that. So I did write that down as a takeaway.
And I have no intentions of selling my house in the near future, but certainly, you know, life changes. I don't know what the language is, but I don't think the sale of a home should be a trigger. And I would think the trigger should be a public health risk. So if your existing system is not of any public health risk, I don't know why one would have to connect under any circumstances.
So I'm not saying that definitively either way.
I'm just recommending.
Yeah, I mean, I
My
do.
own sentiments, that if your system is passing a Title V, that you shouldn't have to abandon it and assume the cost just because sewer is in the street. Now, I realize that's where we're all potentially vulnerable because of the law. But I don't know if there's any way to circumvent that.
Okay. Yes, Jane.
So as a follow-up, could you also clarify on whose responsibility it would be on the sale of the house? Is it the buyer or the seller?
Now,
You can't
I mean-
sell your house unless you do it, or you buy it and you have to hook up? That needs to be clarified as well.
Do you know the answer to that?
I do not know.
Eric, do you know the answer to that?
Usually,
Yeah, it's Title V.
usually what happens if the system doesn't pass Title V, that is,
No, I understand that. This is a
I realize
So we
that.
passed
I'm trying to
Title
answer
V.
your question.
Yeah.
If it doesn't pass Title V, if you decide to sell 10 years down the road and it doesn't pass Title V, that becomes a negotiation between you and the buyer. You say, hey, you know what, I have a friend that can hook this up and I'll have it done. Or the buyer says, well, you know what, it's going to cost me 30 grand to put a new septic system in, so I want to take that off the price of the house.
No,
That's usually how it goes.
okay, so I'm going to sell my house in 2 years. I passed Title V, but I live on Cottage Street and under this
No,
ruling here, so what?
So if I just read it back, Jane, and again, I'm going to get a determination on that. It says that must connect to such sewer to be at such time as a connection to sanitary sewer is required pursuant to the provisions of Title V of the State Environmental Code, or B, connection is expressly ordered by the Hingham Board of Health pursuant to its authority under applicable Massachusetts general law. So that's why I do have to get a determination on that, but I don't see anything in that saying upon the sale of a home.
My name's Alexandra Gild. I live at 25 Ship Street. I just wanted to add my voice that I would not want that to be tied to a house sale.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Patch?
On that Ship Street, again, I think one of the things that's being missed here is that based on where the project stands, again, say my position is illegal, I'm not for it, the whole 9 yards, but trying to look at from the perspective of the people that are being asked to go on grinder pumps, you know, I think before the project continues to proceed, I think the prudent thing to do is for the engineer to actually give these people an idea how much more money we're talking about to go deep gravity. Because there's deep gravity all over town, and it's a cost. It's going to be a cost. So, you know, putting these people on grinder pumps is going to be a cost going forward, way down the road, for as long as they're on sewer. So, if they go gravity, it's the one time they know what the cost is. This is supposed to be put in as a betterment, supposedly, and to be paid over a period of 20 years, which is a big difference financially, because it's a 20-year financial commitment as opposed to a forever financial commitment. I think these people deserve to know what that differential in the cost is. And, you know, since you have often said, Mike, we live in a democracy, even though we actually don't, we live in a constitutional republic. But the point being is that, you know, you went with 2/3 of the vote in the neighborhood, that they ruled the day. It didn't matter what the impact was on me. And you had no problem requiring me to subsidize the people on Cottage Street, even though you could have separated the two projects. The point being is, I think these people should be told how much more money, $6,000, $7,000 spread out over the whole project. They're looking at $4,000 for a pump, and then the ongoing information, even if it's $10,000, okay? What they're looking at going forward is going to be a lot more money than that. So I think before, you know, we get to that point of no return, I think it's the prudent thing to do. For whatever reason, it wasn't done, but the prudent thing to do is to get that number and provide the number. And, you know, again, you're going by supposedly what the neighborhood wants, what 2/3 of the people in the neighborhood want. Bring all the people in and say, hey, do you have a problem paying another $10,000? Because get these people so that they won't have to be on pressurized lines. I think that's the fair and it's a prudent thing to do from their perspective. And I'm not trying to speak to you guys, but I just think that, you know, it's not fair that you're not given that this is supposedly going to be 100% better to the people in the neighborhood. No, I say that's illegal, but again, that was one of the pitches to town meeting. Oh, the town's not going to have to pay for anything. It's going to be these people. Well, if it's us people, why don't you let us people make that choice? Okay? Because you didn't give that option to people. You didn't. You just went forward and did the pressurized line bit. Okay? I attended all the meetings. I know what happened. All right? So, and it was, for whatever reason, you know, the fear was that if it went deep gravity, the cost would be so high that would build resistance to it, and people would say, I'm not for that. But maybe if you had explained to them, well, yeah, it's going to cost you more money on the betterment, but in the long run, it's going to be a more prudent thing to do because you're not going to have to be paying for the pump and the replacement pump. And, you know, no offense to the guy from FR Mahoney, but when I listened to you, it was like I was going in and buying a car with all the add-ons, you know, that basically, you know, that you're looking at. And I think, you know, these people, in order to, that's my basic point of this, is that there was not enough information given to people to make an intelligent decision. And that's inexcusable, because you're putting on us, Mike. You're putting it on us, and then you people are the commissioners. I find it inexcusable, just one point, Mike, I find it inexcusable that you've been sitting on the commission for over 10 years, Mr. Demko's sitting on the commission, and you didn't even know what the special legislation was for the North Sewer District, so that you could have people intelligently discuss this. I'm just incredulous that that's the case, Mike.
Okay.
Really.
At this point, Tom, thank you. Are there any other questions?
You're so well informed, why don't you bring it up before?
Are there any other questions? Anyone?
There's a meeting on the 19th.
There, is that the meeting?
Board of
It's
Health.
the Board of Health.
Oh, the Board of Health, yes, that's Thursday? Is that the
Thursday.
19th? Yes, there
We're
is.
not participating in that.
We're not participating in that, no. We'll take it up on July 8th.
Is it the 19th or was it?
That's this Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah. Did I have any other questions? Okay, so at this time, I'm going to close down the information portion of the meeting. Thank you to everyone who did attend. I do appreciate it. If you do have questions, though, do please feel free to reach out to our office, and we'll get you those answers to things as soon as we can, in a expeditious fashion, and we'll get that chart from FR Mahoney and get that out to the residents on grinder pumps as well. Thank you. Okay. All right. So there is. So I think we talked about it plenty, and I read it. I don't know if you guys were following along. Don't even worry about it. It's you did see this memo, both of you, from Dane Torpy. Just the language I kept reading. So that's what we'll take up on July. All right. Yes. Hi. Yeah, so what, I mean, yeah, so I could get definitive answers from him if he was around when. So he went door to door, and honestly, I don't even know who he went to. But I have minutes of meetings that we can go retrack and get.
Set in March.
I think so. So our administrator is no longer with us, and either she retired. So there was just so many people who moved on since that portion. But I'll get you anything I can. If do you mind just leaving your number with Liz? Yeah, I think, recalling at the time, he was employed, Ed's employed, I'm employed, and that's what we wanted to do as much outreach as possible. there's something that they're looking to add to it, I think that's what we entertain. My understanding is they're gonna be okay. But we gotta. Yeah, so I think, we'll figure that, the Board of Health, we gotta wait and hear from them. So, the last piece of tonight is the consolidation agreement. So I open it up, guys. Do we have a copy of that? We don't have a copy of it. But
I have, and I don't know if it's a draft or not.
okay.
We did make copies.
So I know, Ed, you had some things you want to talk to council about. Were you able to talk to council about them?
I had an appointment with Ed Alexiadis on Thursday at 3:30, made by Betty Towle, and I went there and he didn't show. So we're going to postpone this. I'm making a motion we postpone until our next July meeting.
So we're going to be, we can't operate
agreement's
without a
up.
contract.
The agreement is
We
up.
can't operate without a contract.
Well, we'll make it till the 24th when we have a meeting.
I won't be here.
I don't care. We have a meeting the 24th. We'll bring it up then.
But we need to, we discussed this, Ed. This is, I mean.
Listen, you have two other people on the committee. I make a motion that we
There's
postpone.
differences between the new and the old that
Yeah.
that I need clarity on too, so I think we should table it.
I make the motion that we table it till 24th.
I second the motion.
I mean, guys, I'm gonna keep this open. We don't have that ability to do that.
Why don't we have? You have until the end of the month, so.
But I'm not here that week, and that
doesn't
was,
make any
I mean,
difference.
I've been, Ed, you did elect me chair at one point of this board, and there's been
You want to have
times
a meeting tonight and
that-
elect a new chair?
I mean, what I'm saying, Ed, is at this point, there was 2 months ago when you said, I need to talk to.
We do.
Just listen, please.
We asked to have
Just
counsel.
listen,
We haven't been given the right to have counsel.
please. Why didn't you go and talk to We've said 3 different times, Ed, you can go.
Listen, can I,
And this is unacceptable, Ed.
I'd
that
like
we
to make a
keep
motion that
saying.
this gets moved into executive session right now. We're talking about a contract, we're talking about things that we have to sign, and that we're gonna be responsible to the ratepayers. We do not have counsel. We don't seem to have the ability to get counsel.
We don't have the right to move into executive,
Yes, we do. It's a contract. This is a contract.
but we don't have the right to.
Yes, we do.
We're not taking minutes and it's not being recorded, so this is part of the meeting. They've shut off their sound,
Okay.
from my understanding. Sound is now on? Okay.
Guys, I'm just saying that this is something that we did agree, just to rewind and go back to where we all discussed and said we were going to be prepared to take a vote tonight.
We could
That
change,
was,
that doesn't mean we can't change our mind, Michael.
I'm not saying that it isn't,
Okay.
Ed, but that's 2 meetings now that you've done this. That's 2 meetings. It's not just 1, it's 2. And that's unacceptable. That is dragging
It's
your
not
feet.
acceptable as far as you're concerned. Now, he wants to do it and I want to do it, so the two of us
So I'm telling both of
overriding.
you then, that's unacceptable because we
Listen,
as
this
a
is why you
commission
have a
came up with it.
3-person commission, so that you can't run the roost here.
To run the
You
roost
are.
here, Eric, but what I'm
You're
saying
shoving
is
this
that,
contract down my throat.
because it needs to be signed
It
by
does
July
not.
1st.
It needs to be reviewed.
They have changed the
So-
language of the contract.
Throw it
They're
out
two
there.
different things.
Throw it out
It's
there,
not.
guys.
We're
When are
not
you going
throwing
to
it out.
actually be prepared?
When we
can you guys
meet
be
with
prepared?
council.
Do you guys
When we-
understand there are deadlines in life, okay? And you both have to meet those deadlines. You
Yeah.
both make
Okay, so
commitments.
when are you going to be available so that the 3 of us can have an executive session with council to discuss? Are you a lawyer? Can you answer these questions that I have on this contract?
I don't know, Eric. I don't know what they are.
No, you can't. You're not a lawyer.
But I don't know what
So
the
if I
questions
sign it
are.
and then somebody comes back to me and says, why'd you sign that? I'm going to say because Mike said it was okay.
I'm not saying that at all,
All
Eric.
right, so you
What I-
don't want to be on the hook. I don't want to be on the hook. I want to
But-
get,
Can I ask you why, if
Clarity
you
on it.
had questions that you needed to go to council, why you didn't do that before tonight?
because, you know what, Mike, just like yourself,
We
I'm
just got
busy.
this- we just
So
got
why
this
don't we
on
have
Friday.
our office administrator set up a meeting with council?
Okay. Liz, can you set that up?
I need to know when you're available.
Not for me. I don't
Yes.
have any questions.
Well, you're the one who can't make the meeting.
What do I need to have Counselor for? I don't
So you
have
don't have
any
any questions,
questions.
that's fine. So Eddie and I will have a meeting.
Have the meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
I think you should have individual meetings with the council, one-on-one, so you can get everything, out on the table, and you can do that.
Well, see,
But that's
if you
what originally
cooperated with us, we'd have a meeting where we could all get them all out. So if I had a problem with it, you could say, well, geez, no, that's not the way it goes, and that's not how it's going to be, so that we can all discuss it. That's the point of it.
I'm not saying, that's what I thought we were here to do tonight. I thought
But
we
we
were
don't
here
have
to
legal
discuss.
counsel, so I can't ask a legal
Okay,
question.
so let me ask you,
A legal
Eric,
binding
I'm
question.
just asking, did you ask for counsel to be here for the questions? I'm
No,
just
I
asking.
didn't.
Okay,
I didn't.
okay. So, I guess this is gonna get tabled till July 7th, so we'll be running, July 8th, we'll be running 8 days without a contract.
We can go July 24th, June 24th, we can make a decision possibly,
We can do it on the 8th.
on the 8th.
Can you guys, I'm just asking, and I'm asking as a person who've known you both for a while, and just someone who hates bureaucracy in general, can you guys be prepared with what you need to ask questions that meeting?
Absolutely.
We will get an attorney here, okay? We will ask those questions. Can you prepare in advance by asking some of those questions to council, so that if they have to do research?
We will
they're
Where is
able to
counsel?
provide
Where
it?
do I go to meet
We go to
counsel?
counsel.
What counsel do
Liz,
I
can
meet?
you
Do I
put
seek
through a
my own
request
counsel?
So Eric can have a meeting with counsel on this?
Susan?
It's John Coughlin.
Oh, John Cobb.
Yep. So
And that's
Eric
the
wants-
town council.
Yes.
Can we go outside?
Can we seek our own, can the commission seek their own counsel?
We can petition the Board of Selectmen to do our own, to get our own counsel. I believe precedent's been set that never passes, but if you
Kinda like Cohasset
want to
did it.
do that, you can go right ahead and petition the Board of Selectmen for it.
Okay.
Do that.
We can do what we want on that, but I
I just want to say the
understand, guys.
budget's running tight, and I don't have a legal line. I put it in for this year, but I don't have a legal line, so you might want to think about that.
We should have a line item on there. on
I agree.
I put one in.
Yeah.
I put one in for next year.
So we're already moving in the right direction.
Actually,
You
the
put one in for
school
next
committee,
year,
school
so-
committee has counsel, because they have contracts. So we're another department, we have contracts, we should be able to have counsel. They've set a precedent.
So I guess, can we work to then get John Coughlin, you'll meet with John Coughlin, or even if
Absolutely.
you have to do it over the phone, that would work?
Absolutely.
Can you meet with John Coughlin as well?
I prefer him to be at the meeting so that
Then we'll
if
have him
there's
at the meeting.
something that I don't pick up on that Ed or you do,
Yep.
that's why there's three of us, so that we work together. Three heads are better than one.
Yep, absolutely. I'm on board with that, but if you guys can get him the questions in advance so he doesn't have to say, I need to take that as
What
a
about now, when he
takeaway.
said getting our own counsel? Can we go to the selectmen for that?
If you guys want to petition the Board of Selectmen, we can take a vote on that, and if that's what you guys want to do. So you'd have to make a motion.
I make a motion, we petition selectmen for our own counsel.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? The ayes have it, 2-1, and you guys will have to set up a meeting to petition the Board of Selectmen for council. Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I have one question is, yeah, never mind.
There's a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. All right.
Information for you, you want?